Hello everyone, Azakira speaking, and today I kind of want to talk about the new Transformers movie that just came out, Transformers The Last Knight. Now, if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't watch this video because it's going to be chock full of spoilers. And if you don't want the movie spoiled for you, then go watch it because I think it's actually worth it. So this Transformers movie kind of falls into the middle category of all the Michael Bay Transformers movies. The first one was the best, pretty much going to be tops for everyone's list, and the second one is pretty universally the worst. And this one kind of fits in the middle. It's not the best movie, but it's entertaining and it has really good parts in it. So the first thing I really want to talk about are some of the different characters. And boy, there's a lot of them in this movie. They introduce so many characters that most of them don't really get fleshed out, and it's honestly kind of annoying. Mostly because they have kept most of the cast from Age of Extinction, yet don't flesh out those characters at all because maybe they think, oh, we did good enough in the last movie, no need to focus on them really at all. The only one who really gets any sort of development is Hound, and it's not any more than in the previous movie. It's like just a retreading of, oh, he's just a badass who likes to shoot things. I guess that's the design of the character, but even still, it feels like nothing new is gained from that. Another thing I want to mention is the Dinobots are there, but barely. They use like no Dinobots. There's baby Dinobots for who knows what reason. I don't know where the baby Dinobots came from. Doesn't explain in the movie. They don't play really any part in the movie other than, oh look, it's a mini little Grimlock. Except it's not Grimlock because we still have Grimlock, but we're not really going to use him even though he's a really useful character. And I have Grimlock on my desk. And you don't even see him like this. You don't see this in the movie. You just see T-Rex form twice. He's really heavily underused. There's also a bunch of Dinobots just plain missing, and I don't know where they are. There's no sort of explanation. There's a lot missing with the Dinobots. I feel like there honestly could have just been a whole nother movie with all the information that they just kind of drop on you of, oh hey, Dinobots are here, but only some of them, and only sometimes, and now there's baby Dinobots. I don't dislike the baby Dinobots, but they didn't really serve a purpose in the movie other than to just be cute. And I said that already, but really that's all they were. And it added more questions that just never get answered. Another one of the new characters, Squeaks, a lot of people have been saying, oh, he's just some sort of Transformers affiliated BB-8 because kids really like round things, I guess. I don't know the logic behind that. I don't really see a comparison with BB-8, mostly because BB-8 is very competent, and Squeaks just kind of isn't. He ends up being kind of a burden a lot of the times, and the toy, which, oh, lo and behold, I got this one too. I have like all of them. He does use this giant gun in the movie one time. Squeaks isn't really the best character added in the movie. He's very shallow in development. They don't really develop him. Basically, he boils down to he can't transform and he's made of a bunch of junk parts, which that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's no real character development other than, oh, you got your arm shot. Oh, you blasted a thing with your gun. And I don't find him an offensive character by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like he wasn't integral to the story other than he can kind of go into situations where, you know, humans can go, but the big Transformers can't go. It kind of gives that kind of feel. But there is one thing I really do like about Squeaks, and he's really an underdog, and he is able to do a lot considering in one shot he gets his arm blown off, and all this other stuff goes on with him. And even still, with all these things, you know, stacked against him, it really did feel like this underdog was able to do a lot of good for everyone. I do wish, again, there was more character development with Squeaks, but even without it, he's not an offensive character. He's not the best character, but he had good moments, and I did like that. Another character who really could have used some more development is Hot Rod. And I kind of get what they were going for. You didn't actually realize Hot Rod was one of the cars that was just, oh, hey, I'm a car, except this guy's talking to me, so maybe that's a Transformer? I don't know. Then it is a Transformer. And he's got a French accent, which I don't mind. It's not really offensive. Again, there's nothing wrong with the way the character is, other than he really didn't get enough screen time. And Hot Rod was one of the ones I was most excited to see on screen. And he's still very good in the short time that he's on screen. But they do a lot of that, oh, well, we don't really want to tell a story. Let's just take pictures of Bumblebee. Because everyone knows Bumblebee, everyone likes Bumblebee, even though we just introduced like 26 new characters in this movie. Let's just Bumblebee it up. So if we do get a next movie, which it pretty much just said there's going to be another one at the end, then I hope Hot Rod actually gets some more time to shine. Because I feel like he can be a very good addition to this world that they've created. All right, and on to, I think, the actual shining star of this entire film, Cogman. Cogman is a headmaster who is apparently about 4 feet tall, who just looks like a person covered in robotic Cybertronian bits. And he is so funny. There's one scene in the movie where, and it's pointed to the whole time that he's kind of insane, and he's got these crazy eye twitches, and did a little bit on the super violent out of nowhere side. And one scene, he shoots himself like a torpedo out of a submarine. And he's so funny. And he's kind of crude in a little bit, but it's also funny because he's overbearingly, everything has to be super proper, otherwise I'm incredibly offended. And he is the new character that got the most screen time. And I don't mind that because he was a great character. He was really funny. He kept a lot of comical pace going when there really was kind of some awkward... regardless, Cogman, I think, was the best character in the entire movie. And the funny thing is, he is a headmaster and he does transform, but you never see him transform in the movie. He just stays as a headmaster the whole time. So maybe we'll see that in a future movie. I'm not sure. Maybe they won't bring him back. They kind of like to do that sometimes. But I hope they do, because Cogman was really excellent. Alright, and now as for the Decepticons, Megatron looks really good. He does, but... you know, he's Megatron. You kind of expected him to look badass. And he's not Galvatron anymore with this weird roundness. And I don't even know how to describe Galvatron other than not the best rendition. But this, going back to Megatron, he is an intimidating and pretty dangerous guy. But it's a Transformers movie, so you kind of don't expect the bad guys to win, honestly. And they never really do. But even still, I think it's one of the best renditions of Megatron we've gotten in the Michael Bay movies. And then come all the rest of the Decepticons. Those guys. They do this kind of Suicide Squad thing where they're dealing with, oh, we've got all these guys in lockup, I want them out of lockup, and then they do a little bit of an intro sequence on every character. And one character who is actually in the first wave of toys, it's Berserker. He is in the movie for approximately 8 seconds. He is barely there. And I just find that crazy. He's a Wave 1 toy by Hasbro, and you're not going to use him at all. Like, really, he just shows up, and there's no real reason to have him show up other than, oh, haha, that was kind of a funny what you said. I don't know. And then we get basically white painted Shockwave, or should I call him Nitro Zeus, which I don't understand at all where they were going with this character. He kind of reminds me of the Shattered Glass version of Soundwave, in which, you know, Soundwave is a cold, calculating, talks robotic voice, and in Shattered Glass he's like a hippie. I feel like Nitro Zeus is literally the Shattered Glass version of Shockwave, except he's still bad. And he's not really used either. There's a lot of new characters that aren't used. And in fact, I think I said this already, but most of the new characters get very little screen time, very little development, because they're constantly introducing new thing after new thing after new thing. And it's a little bit hard to follow. The rest of the Decepticons are kind of forgettable. I really like how Barricade looked in the movie. I like his new design a lot better than his original one. But he's a very underused character as well. And I think they're just going off of, oh, you already know Barricade. We don't need to build on him at all. Even though he looks nothing like Barricade. And I'm pretty sure we saw him getting shot to death in the last... What was that? That was the third movie? Maybe the fourth movie. No, I think it was the third movie, Dark of the Moon, where you basically see him get shot to death, and then all of a sudden he's just alive because we need a name that people recognize, even though you already added a ridiculous amount of characters to begin with. He looks great on screen, but he's just not there enough. And one other thing that really bothered me, and it really shouldn't have, there's a couple of things that are Transformers that never transform. It's like there's a scene with the submarine, which I already talked about, Cogman blasting himself out like a torpedo. They say that the submarine is a transformer, except he doesn't transform ever. And I probably get why they were going with, oh, we'll just say he's a transformer, not do anything, because there were so many new characters already. How are we going to add a gigantic submarine character into the movie as well? There's just a lot of unnecessary characters. I feel like if they had pulled back a little bit, we could have gotten a little bit more time with some of the more memorable ones. That's kind of enough about the characters in the movie, and there's a lot more that I didn't even talk about. There's combiners in the movie, there's a bunch of characters, and honestly, you just get so little screen time with them. It's like you couldn't tell who this was compared to who this was, because they're all the same character. Just, it's tiring to talk about. Now to talk about something a little bit more positive, the introduction to the movie, it goes back to medieval times, and that part works surprisingly well. I really did enjoy the first introductory part where it was back in time, back in the medieval ages. Oh, and spoiler alert, Optimus Prime is not the Last Knight. That is not what the movie title is talking about at all. You'll find out if you watch the movie. But it's not Optimus, and it's a character that we've already seen on screen before. It's kind of weird the way they did that, and you know, there's always the ooh, new mystical artifact, but it's not terribly offensive in any way. A lot of things about this movie, they're not great, but they're not offensive. They're just there to watch. And you know, not every movie has to be a mind-bending, super incredible experience that like will change your life forever. This is the category I like to call popcorn movies, where you can sit down, kind of watch what's going on, have a good time, and then don't really have to think on it too terribly much after that point. They're enjoyable, but not something that you're gonna lose countless hours over trying to... Not something you're gonna lose countless hours of your life trying to figure out what the ending meant or anything like that. It's point A to point B, watch the whole thing, hope you enjoyed the ride. And that's not a bad thing. One last thing I do want to mention is the final battle suffers from basically what I call out of the shadows syndrome, which, in case you don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, the last live-action Turtles movie that we got, also from Michael Bay, they go into the final battle, and it seems like the battle's gonna go on longer and get harder, and it looks like things are gonna turn around in favor for the villain, and it never does. It just, oh, you guys are gonna be in for it, but next time I can't be bothered because the movie's too long anyways. And from this point forward, it will be Oots syndrome. OOTS, Oots syndrome. And I hate movies that do that. It's not super bad in this one, but it's enough to where, really, that was it? Like I said earlier, this movie kind of sits somewhere in the middle. It's not as good as the first one, much better than the second one, kind of in that middle ground. If you like the Transformers movies, you'll probably like it. If not, you probably won't like it. It's something that you can probably sit down and enjoy if you're a fan of the style that they're going for, which I personally am. So I would give it, you know, a warm recommendation. It's not the best movie you're ever going to see, but it's enjoyable, and if you can get into the theater for not too terribly much, I mean, it's definitely worth your time. Nothing I say is probably going to change your mind on the movie if you like it or if you don't. But like I said, I do recommend it. If you like just kind of fun, it's there, go watch it movies, then go give it a watch. Until next Prime. Oh, that was a bad joke. Oh, that was a bad joke. Oh, I'm sorry.